I Am a Filipino by Carlos P. Romulo. I am a Filipino, inheritor of the glorious past, hostage to the uncertain future. As such, I must prove equal to a twofold task: the task of meeting my responsibility to the past, and the task of performing my obligation to the future. I am sprung from a hardy race child, many generations removed of ancient Malayan pioneers. Across the centuries, the memory comes rushing back to me of brown-skinned men putting out to sea in the ships that were as frail. Their hearts were stout. Over the sea I see them come, borne upon the billowing wave and a whistling wind, carried upon the mighty swell of hope, hope in the free abundance of the new land that was to be their home and their children's forever. This is the land they sought and found, every inch of shore that their eyes first set upon, every hill and mountain that beckoned to them with a green and purple invitation, every mile of rolling plain that their view encompass, every river and lake that promise a plentiful living and the fruitfulness of commerce, is a hallowed spot to me. By the strength of their hearts and hands, by every right of law, human and divine, this land and all the appurtenances thereof, the black and the fertile soil, the seas and the lakes, the rivers teeming with fish, the forests with their inexhaustible wealth in wild and timber, the mountains with their bowels swollen with minerals. The whole of this rich and happy land has been for centuries without number, the land of my fathers. This land I receive in trust from them, and in trust will pass it to my children, and so on until the world is no more. I am a Filipino. In my blood runs the immortal seed of heroes, seed that flowered down the centuries in deeds of courage and defiance. In my veins yet pulses the same hot blood that sent Lapu-Lapu to battle against the alien foe, that drove Diego Silang in the Guhoy into rebellion against a foreign oppressor. That seed is immortal. It is the same seed that flowered in the heart of Jose Rizal that morning in Bagong Bayan, when a volley of shots put an end to all that was mortal of him and made his spirit deathless forever. The same that flowered in the hearts of Bonifacio in Balintawak, of Gregorio del Pilar at Tirad Pass, of Antonio Luna at Kalumpit, that bloom in the flowers of frustrations in the sad heart of Emilio Aguinaldo at Palanan, and yet burst forth royalty again in the proud heart of Manuel L. Quezon, when he stood at last on the threshold of ancient Malacanang Palace in the simple act of possession and racial vindication. The seed I bear within me is an immortal seed. It is a mark of my womanhood, the symbol of my dignity as a human being. like the seeds that were once buried in the tomb of Tutankhamen many thousands of years ago. It shall grow the flower and bear fruit again. It is a sign of my race and my generations is but a stage in the unending search of my people for freedom and happiness. I am a Filipino, child of marriage of the East and the West. The East with its languor and mysticism, its passivity and ignorance, was my mother, and my sire was the West that came thundering across the seas with the cross and sword and the machine. I am of the East, an eager participation in its struggles for liberation from the imperialist yoke. But I know also that the East must awake from its century sleep. Shake off the lethargy that bound its limbs and start moving where destiny awaits. For I too am of the West, and the vigorous peoples of the West have destroyed forever the peace and quiet that was once were ours. I can no longer live, a being apart from those whose world now trembles to the roar of bomb and cannon shot. For no man and no nation is an island, but a part of the main, and there is no longer any East and West. Only individuals and nations making those momentous choices that are the hinges upon which history revolves, and the vanguard of progress. In this part of the world I stand, a forlorn figure in the eyes of some, but none one defeated and lost. For through the thick, interlacing branches of habit and custom above me, I have seen the light of the sun, and I know that it is good. I have seen the light of justice and equality and freedom. My heart has been lifted by the vision of democracy. And I shall not rest until my land and my people shall have been blessed by this, beyond the power of any man or any nation to subvert or destroy. I am a Filipino, and this is my inheritance. What pledge shall I give that I may prove worthy of my inheritance? I shall give the pledge that has come ringing upon the corridors of the centuries, and it shall be compounded of the joyous cries of my Malayan forebears. When they first saw the contours of this land looming before their eyes, of the battle cries that have resounded in every field of combat, from Mactan to Tirad Pass, of the voices of my people when they sing, Land of the morning, child of the sun returning. Never shall invaders trample thy sacred shore. Out of the lush green of the 7,000 isles, out of the heartstrings of 16 million people, all vibrating to one song, I shall weave the fabric of my pledge. Out of the song of the farmers at sunrise, when they go to labor in the fields, out of the sweat of the hard-beaten pioneers in Malig and the Coronadal, out of the silent endurance of stevedores of the pyres and the ominous grumbling of peasants in Pampanga, out of the first cries of babies newly born and the lullabies that mothers sing, out of crushing of jeers and the whine of turbines in the factories, out of the crunch of turning, the earth Out of the limitless patience of teachers in the classroom and doctors in the clinics, out of the tramp of the soldiers marching, I shall make the pattern of my pledge. I am a Filipino, born of freedom, and I shall not rest until freedom shall have been added into my inheritance for myself and my children forever. I am a Filipino.